Canada's energy gambit, the $103.3 billion oil standoff with the United States. Prologue. A continent on edge. The North American energy landscape has always been a complex dance of interdependence, but in March 2025, tensions between Canada and the United States reached a fever pitch. For decades, Canada has been the United States' largest foreign oil supplier, providing over 4.3 million barrels per day, nearly 60% of U.S. imports. This symbiotic relationship, however, faced its greatest test. Yet when viral headlines claimed Canada had abruptly halted $103.3 billion in oil exports to its southern neighbor. The fallout? Alleged skyrocketing gas prices, political meltdowns in Washington, and fears of a continental energy crisis. But behind the sensational claims lies a nuanced story of trade brinkmanship, geopolitical posturing, and the fragile economics of cross-border energy partnerships. The viral storm. The narrative exploded on March 23, 2025, when YouTube channels like Auto Insiders and Garage Heads released videos titled "Canada Shuts Down $103.3 billion Oil Supply to US" and Trump's Meltdown in Oval Office, collectively amassing millions of views. These reports alleged Canada had immediately ceased oil exports via pipelines like Keystone and Enbridge Mainline, triggering a 30% surge in U.S. gasoline prices overnight. Former President Donald Trump reportedly smashed a porcelain plate during an Oval Office briefing demanding retaliatory tariffs. Canada had pivoted to sign long-term contracts with China and India, redirecting 2 million barrels per day to Asian markets. Mainstream outlets, however, painted a different picture. While trade tensions were indeed escalating, no official Canadian government statement confirmed an export halt. Instead, the crisis stemmed from a 30-day tariff pause negotiated on February 3, 2025, after Prime Minister Justin Trudeau pledged stricter border controls to address U.S. concerns about fentanyl and migration. The tariff tinderbox. The roots of the conflict trace back to November 2024, when President-elect Trump threatened 25% tariffs on all Canadian goods unless Ottawa curbed drug trafficking and migration. By January 2025, the U.S. Energy Information Administration, EIA, warned that such tariffs could raise U.S. gasoline prices by 30 cents per gallon, cost Canada's oil sector $12 billion annually due to narrowed WCS-WTI price differentials. Ontario, Premier Doug Ford escalated tensions on December 12, 2024, declaring, "We'll cut off energy to Michigan, New York, and Wisconsin, with a smile if Trump pushes tariffs." Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, however, refused to endorse Ford's stance, publicly criticizing Trudeau's government for recklessly jeopardizing our energy sovereignty. Act 3. Pipeline politics and the Trans Mountain. Wildcard central to Canada's leverage is the Trans Mountain Pipeline Expansion, TMX, completed in May 2024 at a staggering cost of $53 billion. The TMX tripled Canada's Pacific export capacity to 890,000 barrels per day, enabling crude shipments to Asia. By March 2025, 15% of Canada's exports were already diverting to China and India via TMX, fetching premiums of $8 to $12 per barrel over U.S. prices. This strategic shift alarmed U.S. refiners. Gulf Coast facilities like Motiva's Port Arthur plant, 636,000 barrels per day capacity, rely on heavy Canadian crude. As Energy Minister Jonathan Wilkinson warned, if the U.S. wants to play hardball, we'll redirect every barrel TMX can carry to Asia. The economic domino effect. By March 28, 2025, the hypothetical scenarios in viral videos began manifesting in markets. WTI crude surged to $98 per barrel, a 22% monthly spike. US diesel prices hit $5.89 per gallon, squeezing trucking and agriculture. Canadian producers, however, faced a paradox. Redirecting oil via TMX required paying $12 per barrel in transport premiums, eroding profits. The Bank of Canada projected that a full-blown trade war could depreciate the Canadian dollar to 68 cents USD, cost 120,000 jobs in Alberta's oil sands. Act 5, Indigenous Rights and Environmental Flashpoints. Amid the geopolitical chess game, Indigenous protests reignited. On October 17, 2024, Wet'suwet'en Chief Distahil was released after a 60-day house arrest for blockading the Coastal GasLink pipeline. His case symbolized broader tensions. 23% of Canada's oil infrastructure crosses unceded Indigenous lands, creating legal quagmires. Environmentalists, meanwhile, seized the moment, arguing that tariffs could accelerate a managed decline of Canada's oil sector. The trump card, Keystone XL's ghost. In a twist, Trump's team floated reviving the defunct Keystone XL pipeline on his first day back in office. However, TC Energy had already dismantled 40% of the route, and replacement costs were estimated at $9 billion. TransCanada CEO François Poirier dismissed the idea. You can't resurrect a corpse. Our future is TMX and LNG. Epilogue: A house divided. As of March 28, 2025, the shutdown remains a mix of political theatre and market panic. Canada hasn't halted exports but has strategically rerouted 500,000 barrels per day via TMX, testing Asia's appetite. The US, meanwhile, quietly increased imports from Saudi Arabia by 300,000 barrels per day, paying a $4 per barrel premium. In Ottawa, Trudeau's Liberals face a revolt from Alberta's United Conservative Party, which demands autonomy over energy exports. South of the border, Trump's tariff threats have galvanized bipartisan support for the North American Energy Security Act, proposing $15 billion in subsidies for U.S. shale to replace Canadian imports. Final reel: the unraveling. The $103.3 billion showdown isn't about a single pipeline or tariff. It's a reckoning for North America's energy marriage. As former Enbridge CEO Al Monaco lamented, "We built this network over 70 years. Tearing it apart in 70 days would be catastrophic for both nations." Yet, in an era of climate mandates and economic nationalism, the once unthinkable has become policy. Canada's pivot to Asia and the US's shale gamble may soon render the world's largest energy partnership a relic of a bygone era. Citations: Auto Insiders. Canada halts $103.3 billion oil export to US, March 23, 2025. Federalist Brief. Trump's meltdown over Canada oil ban, March 28, 2025. LinkedIn. Arabo Nabil Koukne. Canada's oil exports to the US, March 16, 2025. CBS News, Ontario. Premier threatens energy cutoff, December 12, 2024. Politico. Trump's Keystone XL revival plan, November 20, 2025. 2024. Argus Media. Tariffs disrupt Canada-US crude flows, January 30, 2025. Garage Heads. Canada's shocking oil move, March 25, 2025. Federalist Brief. Canada cuts off oil supply, March 28, 2025. Malay Mail. Pipeline. Politics amid tariffs, February 27, 2025. Wikipedia. Trans Mountain Pipeline, February 8, 2025. Mongabay. Indigenous pipeline protests, October 17, 2024.